Hey guys, welcome to the Getting Started with ARKit video. Today we'll be walking over some basic ARKit concepts to help you build your first ARKit application. We're going to show you how to create a project on Xcode, build and deploy that project from Xcode to your iPad or iPhone, and then we'll be analyzing some code. So let's just get started. So we're going to first start off with the basic concepts that you need to know to build an ARKit application. At the top of the hierarchy, you have AR view, which is basically your camera feed, which is live video of what's in front of you from your iPhone's camera. For example, in this case, it'll be the background environment here without the virtual chair. And the scene is the virtual objects overlay on top of your camera feed. So without the scene, you wouldn't see this virtual chair. This virtual chair is here because we have a scene inside of AR view that actually overlays the virtual objects onto your live feed. And within the scene, you could have multiple anchors, multiple entities within each anchor. So you can think of the anchor just like a ship anchor and the entity as the ship itself. So how it works is that, for example, in this example here, the entity will be the virtual chair and the anchor is where this chair is pinpointed so that when you turn your camera around, when you turn around and you turn back to it, this chair will still be at its same position because it's anchored down here. And if you have a flower pot on top of this chair, for example, they will belong to the same anchor, right? And in each scene, you could have multiple anchors. For example, you could have a table to the side of here, and you could also have multiple scenes. For example, this is my living room scene. I could switch to a playground scene where instead of a chair, it might be some toys, right? Things like that. That gets more complex, but for a basic ARKit app, you can only have a single scene, multiple anchors, multiple entities. And that's all you need to know to build a basic ARKit app. So let's talk a little about the different anchor types you will see. So starting off with horizontal and vertical planes. Your horizontal planes could be your table, your floor, anything that's horizontal, any horizontal surfaces. Your vertical planes will be things like your wall, anything that's vertical really. And the second type you might see is your face. You might add a sunglass to your face or, I don't know, some fake mustaches to your face. That's where the face anchors might come in useful. And you could have anchors attached to the camera itself. And body, it's pretty self-explanatory. You could have some virtual clothes, right? Things like that. It can be attached to some object in the real world. For example, it could be attached to your laptop. It could be some virtual stickers attached to your laptop. And of course, most commonly, it's attached to the world itself. So when you add geo anchors, for example, at a landmark, it's relative to the world coordinate. So it's not going to move around, unlike horizontal planes. So if you move around your table, the anchors are going to shift with the table. But for world anchors, they're going to stay exactly where they are relative to the world positioning system. Let's look at a quick example here. So we have a flower pot on top of a table. The table here is the horizontal surface and the flower pot is the entity, which is anchored to this table. If we were to miraculously flip the table 90 degrees, we would end up with something like this. As you can see, the flower pot flips along with the table because that's how anchors work. Alright, so now we're going to look at how we can create an AR app. So first you want to open Xcode and click on create a new project. And once you're on this page, go to the iOS section. And there are many templates for you to choose from. We're going to use the augmented reality app template. So click on it and click next. And you can name this whatever you want. I'm going to name this getting started with AR, and select the team. We're going to be using Swift UI, and for Swift UI we have to use Swift as the language. The content technology, there are different ways of creating Swift UI apps. I definitely recommend RealityKit as of now because it's the most modern framework designed for building AR iOS apps. So definitely use RealityKit. We're going to uncheck include test. We're not going to be writing any unit test. So just uncheck that box and click on next. Alright, so once you create the project, you're going to end up on this page. You have a lot of template code for you to work with. It'll get you up and running really quickly. So we're not going to change any code as of now. We're going to run it and see what we get. So let's just do that. And first, make sure that you're using an actual device that you're connected to. I'm using my iPad. You can use your iPhone, iPad, whatever you want. And we actually don't need this preview screen here, so I'm going to close that. And let's just run and build to see what we get. Alright, so to run it, you click this button and let's see what we get. It will start building and deploying to my iPad, so let me check my iPad. So you might see something like this, and now it will start to build to my iPad. Alright, so on my iPad I see this black metallic square, this black metallic cube, and as you can see, it's entirely virtual. You can't touch it. It's pretty dang cool, honestly. It reflects out the light in the room. Pretty awesome. Alright, so let's analyze the code that we have here. Let me use my pen. So first, notice that we're importing Swift UI and RealityKit. These are the libraries that we're going to be using. And then we have a struct called ARViewContainer. This conforms to the UI view representable. So what this allows us to do is integrate UIKit inside of our Swift UI application, right? Remember that UIKit is the framework that we're using to create augmented reality apps using Swift UI. So that's what this allows us to do. And we must implement make UI, which returns an AR view. And here we define an AR view, and we create some objects here, and we ultimately return AR view. So let's analyze what this code does. So this creates a cube object with a size of 0.1 and corner radius of 0.005, which makes it more round basically. And it's a mesh, which is basically a skeleton. You can think of it as. It's the structure without all the texture. And then we define a material, which is kind of like the skin, right? For a human, you have your skeleton, you have your skin. The mesh is the skeleton, the material is your skin. And we use simple material, and the code is actually pretty intuitive. The color is gray, roughness 0.15, and it's metallic. And then we define a model which combines our mesh and our material, right? For a complete human entity, we have our skeleton, we have our skin, right? So we're defining an entity here. Remember that entities can be combined with anchors to be placed into our virtual world. And here we add a translation value of 0.05 to our model, which basically shifts it 0.05 on the y-axis. And here we create a horizontal plane anchor for our model. So the anchor is defined with horizontal plane detection, and what classification.any does is that it allows any horizontal plane to be used for the detection. For example, your table could work, your floor could work, any horizontal plane would work. That's what classification.any does. And .horizontal basically says this must be a horizontal surface we're detecting. And the minimum bound states that the plane must have a width of 0.2 and a depth of 0.2. Okay, and then we append the model as the children to the anchor, which basically allows us to place the model into our virtual world, right? Remember the hierarchy that we talked about earlier. The entity is attached to an anchor, and the anchor belongs to the scene, which we have here, right? So it goes AR view. Within your AR view, you have a scene, and then you could have multiple anchors inside of your scene. And we're basically adding an anchor into our list of anchors within our scene. That's kind of what this code does, and then we finally return AR view. Alright, so now that we have covered the basic concepts, as an exercise, I want you guys to create a sphere, play around with the material, the mesh, the size, whatever you want to do. Play around with the transformation, perhaps shifting it on the X and Z scale, see what changes, and then play around with, instead of horizontal detection, try vertical detection, for example. How do you create multiple anchors? So just play around with these basic concepts. You can build a lot of cool things. And another thing is that instead of just shapes, you can also build using text. You can create AR text, display them. That would be pretty cool. So yeah, just dig around the documentation, build something. That's a great way to learn, to make sure that you actually understand the material and not just passively absorbing the video content. So that's it for this video. I'll be posting more videos on AR content in the future. And if you're interested in contents like this, please make sure to subscribe and like the video. And see you guys next time.